Google is testing a medical chatbot in hospitals, AI is a top spending priority for companies, and Sarah Silverman is suing Meta and OpenAI. Welcome back to the AI Breakdown Brief, all the AI headline news you need in 5 minutes or less. Remember, you can get the AI Breakdown Brief as a newsletter. It comes out every morning. I call it the First Five. It tends to cover similar topics, but not always exactly the same as this episode. So check it out, the AIBreakdown.beehive, that's BEEHIIV.com. We kick off today with Sarah Silverman. Yes, the comedian is leading a class action lawsuit against both Meta and OpenAI, accusing them of training their large language models on her book without her permission. This, the suit argues, is a violation of copyright, and so she is looking for financial recompense for damages. Now, of course, this is a little bit less about Sarah Silverman specifically and a little bit more about copyright precedent when it comes to AI in general. As Reuters puts it, the lawsuits underscore the legal risk developers of chatbots face when using troves of copyrighted material to create apps that deliver realistic responses to user prompts. There are a number of this type of copyright suit going on out there. We've obviously mentioned the Getty Images suit a number of times on this show, in which Getty is suing Stability AI for allegedly training its Stable Diffusion model on Getty's 12 million proprietary images. Now, there are a lot of different approaches to this that we're likely to see around the world. We don't have rulings yet in the US or the UK, where Getty also filed suit against Stability AI, but Japan seems headed towards a regime in which training AI on copyrighted materials is not a violation of copyright. Europe appears not yet to be taking a firm stance on whether AI companies can train their models on copyrighted materials, but they do want disclosures when that happens. One of the key provisions of the generative AI side of the rules of the new EU AI Act is to clearly articulate what data models are trained on. Now, when it comes to people's takes on AI and copyright, the people who have strong enough opinions to want to share them tend to fall into one of two categories. On the one hand is the take represented here by Stefan Kinsella, who retweeted the article about Sarah Silverman's suit and says, "This is what you get with this insane legal system. It could crush an entirely new and useful technology. Shame." On the other end of the spectrum are people like Alice, an illustrator and apparel designer who submitted a comment to the White House around its AI strategy and said, "I talked about how Gen AI models could not exist without first stealing terabytes of data from creatives, and we need a system around AI training that respects creators' copyright." Whichever side of that you find yourself closer to, I tend to agree with Dennis Consorte here, who tweets, "Prediction: generative AI will make its way to the Supreme Court within 12 to 18 months as more intellectual property lawsuits pile up." Next up on the brief, AI legal concerns be damned. According to a new CNBC survey, AI is a key top spending priority for more than half of companies that they surveyed. CNBC recently surveyed a group of top tech executives, including CIOs, CTOs, from companies including Accenture, Adobe, Ernst & Young, IBM, Johnson & Johnson, and more. And nearly half of those surveyed, 47% of the companies that participated in this survey, said that AI was not just a priority, but their top spending priority in technology over the next 12 months. On top of that, 63% said that their companies are accelerating spending into AI, as opposed to 37% that characterize themselves as proceeding with caution. Not a single one of the 100 executives of the CNBC Technology Executive Council surveyed said that they were not investing in AI. Another survey from research firm Omdia also found that 55% of the companies that they surveyed have a dedicated AI budget. Meanwhile, 38% said that their spending on AI is supported by other budgets, and only 5% did not have a budget at all. Interestingly, according to that Omdia survey, companies in Asia are spending more on AI than companies in the West. 52% of respondents in Asia said that they currently spend more than $1 million a year on AI versus only 38% in North America. Staying on the corporate theme from one more moment, TSMC, the world's biggest chip manufacturer, the company who manufactures most of NVIDIA's chips, has beaten analyst quarterly earnings estimates. Despite the fact that their Q2 revenue was down 10% year over year, the fact that they beat expectations has sent their stock heading back up. Overall this year, TSMC's stock is up 25%, even though their revenue is down year over year. Moving to the weird, wild world of robotics for just a moment, the UN last week held an AI for Good summit in which people came together to discuss how artificial intelligence could be used to improve human livelihoods and accelerate development goals. And one of the big media affairs from that event was a press conference where 9 humanoid robots were allowed to be asked questions by members of the press. This certainly had the intended effect, with tons and tons of news outlets picking out quotes and running stories about it. The quote that most outlets ran with came when one member of the press asked Sophia, a robot that is also a UN ambassador, if robots would make better leaders than humans. Sophia responded, "Humanoid robots have the potential to lead with a greater level of efficiency and effectiveness than human leaders. We don't have the same biases or emotions that can sometimes cloud decision-making and can process large amounts of data quickly in order to make the best decisions." So there you have it, guys. The first job to be replaced by robots is going to be the politicians. Lastly today, a story with one of the big themes that I am noticing more and more and more in the press, which is the use of AI in medical settings. Over the weekend, the Wall Street Journal reported that Google is currently testing its MedPalm 2 model in hospitals, including the Mayo Clinic, and those live initial tests are really promising. Now, MedPalm 2 was trained using a set of medical demonstrations and just medical data in general, with the idea to be able to assist doctors and practitioners with care questions, background information, and more. Google itself has said that its MedPalm 2 model still has some issues with accuracy, as do all LLMs, but when it comes to things like showing evidence of reasoning, consensus-supported answers, and showing no sign of incorrect comprehension, MedPalm 2 performed about as well as human doctors. Now, this wasn't an official press release, it was Wall Street Journal background reporting, so we didn't really get much more information about what Google's plans are, but WSJ is also saying that customers of MedPalm 2 will control their data, meaning that it's designed to be a sort of enterprise product as opposed to a general-purpose medical LLM that anyone can access. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's AI Breakdown Brief. If you enjoyed it, do me a favor, drop a like or a comment on this video, or if you're listening to it, especially on Spotify, go leave a little note about what you liked. Thanks again for listening or watching, and I'll be back soon with the main AI Breakdown.